All right, folks. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me turn on this overhead light. Woo. Makes a big difference. There we are. How are you guys doing? Bringing you an update. We've got some break-in weather alerts. Can you guys hear me? Oh gosh, I totally forgot about the mic. Okay. Oh, hold on one second. We're missing this. Hold on. Yikes, yikes, yikes. I want to bring this in. Share audio. Here we go. We want to get this in there. Where is the
into the Yucatan Peninsula? They're already under hurricane watch as we continue to track Grace through these warm waters of the Caribbean. So many of these islands here, the Caymans, also getting into Cuba, looking at some very heavy rain as well as a lot of wind coming through with this next tropical system. It is forecasted to still move to the west due to high pressure up to the north. That's going to keep it on that westerly track that'll move through the Yucatan Peninsula, unfortunately affecting parts of Mexico in the coming days. So we'll be watching that closely. Again, the exact intensity, the track to be determined, but likely with that high pressure, it will be grazing toward the west. So big picture shows you that as we get closer to the peak of hurricane season, we're seeing that uptick in activity. So tropical depression, Fred still have just far-reaching effects all the way up to the northeast, as well as we'll be continuing with Henri as well as Grace as we head into the coming days. So again, our coverage continues of the tropics, especially Fred, with that potential of flooding as well as tornado warnings ongoing this afternoon. We continue next, right after this.
All right, folks. Let me just pause. Let me just mute that one there for us. Okay, so we are bringing it to you live and direct. Let me just bring that out. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm keeping a visual for the next update coming. It should be 4 o'clock our time, I believe, which is 5 o'clock in the US. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As you can see, my hair is quite a hot mess. My apologies for that, but hey, the hurricane's going to get to that anyway. So yes, folks, you're going to hear it first. Our sources have indicated that we are looking at being under a hurricane watch as of 4 p.m. I'm waiting for the official government announcement to come down the pipeline, but this is what we're hearing at this time from exclusive CMR sources. So lots of closures across the board, as you probably have seen by now on our Facebook page. So good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, Elizabeth, and everyone else that is watching us this afternoon. So as predicted, I mean, I called it earlier today. Thanks, Kevin. By the way, I don't know if Kevin is watching, but big shout out to Kevin for also thinking this morning during the show. He looked at it and he said, I think that's going to be a hurricane by the time that hits Cayman. And I have to agree with him that here we are. So shelters, folks, have opened up. So let me just, we will hopefully have the Red Cross coming in on the live stream here shortly. They're going to be joining us because they're in full on mode in terms of the shelters opening. We do have a list of shelters that have now been activated. So permit me to just pull this information up on the screen here for you as well. But basically, all of the shelters are open. By the way, there was just another accident across some Silver Sands. Looks like a pretty bad accident with, I don't know what's wrong with you drivers. I don't know what to tell y'all. Please, just, I mean, the storm is on the way. Can y'all please just relax? Oh my God. Get off the roads and stop being crazy. And yes, so there was just another accident yet again. I swear every time we go live, there's an accident. What is wrong with y'all? Get it together. Anyway, I hope everyone in that accident is okay. I just wish y'all would learn how to drive. Truth be known. I mean, especially during a time like this, everybody's out there in a rush. I just came off the road myself, and I must tell you quite honestly that I was just taking my time. There was a car. Look at this. There was a car that something actually fell off of the car. I don't even know, my apologies, what it was, but something fell off the car. and it was holding up traffic right at the roundabout there, coming into, where's that, like Grand Harbor, not Grand Harbor, what's the other roundabout called? Coming into like Ocean Club area, right? So that roundabout where you can take the bypass and go to the east-west arterial was blocked up for a minute there because someone, I don't know what load they were carrying, but apparently it fell off of the back of their vehicle. So need we remind you that at times like this, everybody's out and about and rushing, and we really need for you all to please take your time. It doesn't make any sense to have the extra agitation of writing off your vehicle, because as you can see, this one here is definitely a write-off. Oh my gosh, we're going to see coming up here what's going on in Haiti. Some mudslides already have began in poor Haiti. Those, my apologies, those poor people. All I can do is pray for Haiti. I don't even know what else to say. I really legit just feel horrible for them. Anyway, we are, folks, bracing for what would be the first hurricane since Hurricane Ivan. Now, I don't know if y'all remember this, but we've not had a hurricane in 17 years. Wow. That's kind of crazy when you think about it. We do have some messages from the PAC government, so please stay tuned for those. We're going to be doing some updates here in a second. I'm just watching the background weather report. So I'm just asking y'all to please exercise some additional caution on the roadways today. Johan wants to know if CMR is going to be doing, going out in the storm, giving us live reports. We don't have to go out in the storm to give y'all live reports. We can do it right here from the comfort of our studio. So as long as the internet stays up, go flow. And as long as the, I'm going to be watching this storm update here. So yeah, as long as the internet stays up, folks, and as long as we can continue to, as long as the internet stays up and as long as we can continue to have some semblance of connectivity, then I think we're going to be good to go. So no, Johan, short answer is no. We ain't about that crazy life going out in the storm and getting blown away. There's absolutely no need for it. I'm not going to do something that I tell you all not to do. And I'm telling you all to stay off the roadways. That is the safest and best place to actually be. Shireen, thank you so much. Leslie's here for it. So we have a lot of interest overseas who are obviously monitoring the situation quite closely. We will certainly be updating you all as we progress through this report. So first of all, thank you so much, Miss Marie. I see your message on WhatsApp. Rita, Brandon, hey, Brandon. Deborah's here. Dawn is here. Quite a few people. The governor just put something up as well. I'm assuming that's that we're under an official hurricane watch at this time. So this will be the island's first hurricane, folks. First hurricane since Hurricane Ivan. So what I would say to you all is be ultra prepared for this one. Don't take this, lightly. We were telling you all from this morning to please go out there and begin your preparations to get off the street as quickly as possible. So I'm watching to see when they're going to start talking about Grace a little bit more here. Okay. All right, so let's just view a message first from Mr. Kenneth Bryan. Thank you so much, Mr. Bryan, for this message. And then I think we're awaiting one from the Premier as well.
Georgetown Central and good day, Cayman. This is Kenneth Bryan, Minister for Tourism and Transport. As most of you know, we're under tropical storm warning. And as a result, there's a level of responsibility that comes with that, meaning taking care of yourself and your neighbors. I want you to look through your household and figure out to make sure that you have everything prepared for yourself, whether you need to batten up your windows, whether you need extra food in the house as we go through this tropical storm. Now, not too much to worry about, but it's better to be prepared. So what I would like you to do is check on your neighbors, check on your family and friends. If you live in a flood zone area and you feel uncomfortable with the potential chance of loads of rain over the next 48 hours, I would suggest that you go to the government website at gov.ky or to caymanprepare.ky, where we're going to be announcing some shelters that will be open. We don't think it's going to be too severe in respect to the weather and the flooding, but it's always better to be prepared than not. Again, remember, we're all in this together, so look out for each other, and I will continue to keep you posted with updates via the websites, as well as Facebook and via WhatsApp. That being said, God bless you, stay safe, and I love you. Take care.
All right, folks, so that's our first message. We are waiting to hear, like I said, from the Premier as well. So let's just give him a few. We're going to have Kevin Watler joining us. Kevin is going to jump in. At some point, the Red Cross will jump in as well, folks. So again, shelters have opened. We're expecting to be probably, the official announcement will come down here shortly, to be under hurricane watch. But here is a rudimentary list of the shelters that are going to be opening this evening. So there you go. Activated shelters, opening times. Now, I think that this has been potentially updated just a little bit, because I saw a press release that came out that actually shared that the Red Cross shelter was actually going to be opening at, let me see here now, at 4 p.m. So let me just double check the official opening times. But yes, we do anticipate that all of the shelters will be opening here shortly. So HSA has sent out some announcements. All clinics and services are going to be canceled on Tuesday, which obviously that's today. Cayman Islands, the main pharmacy is going to close at 9 o'clock. So please, if you need a prescription, by the way, do I need a prescription for anything? I think I've got a couple days supply, but you know what? Let me see if I can get a quick prescription. Information desk and medical records is going to close at 4 o'clock, and they're planning to reopen on Wednesday at noon, pending the all clear being given. So again, list of shelters. This is accurate, actually. So the Red Cross shelter will actually open at 4 p.m. Ashton Ruddy and Cayman Brac, which is also a emergency medical center in EMC, is going to open at 6 p.m. And then pretty much all other shelters, including the Public Works Department building, which is the only one, folks, on Little Cayman, will be opening at 5. Hold on, sorry. Will be opening at 5 p.m. Yes. So Kevin, just give me 1 second. I'm going to pull you in here. All right, Senor Kevin. Hello, how are you?
I'm well. It's been a busy day at work between monitoring what's going on over back home in Cayman and dealing with the COVID response in my paid job.
Yes. Wow. So we let's remind people, folks, that Kevin is actually in Miami, right? Dade County?
No, in Tampa.
Tampa. You're in Tampa. Sorry. All right. So he's in the Tampa area, and he works in, very stressful and busy job, but he's taken his time out of his busy schedule just to join us this afternoon. What do you think about this storm, Kevin? I mean, I think you saw it coming earlier. You said, "Oh, this is going to turn into a hurricane."
Yeah, I was, messaging you and letting you know, hey, this one I'm a little bit more concerned on. A lot of the models that I have access to, it was certainly showing that Jamaica was not going to have a huge impact from it. I told you, hey, this is likely a category 1. In fact, I told my mom as well too, Mom, prepare the house for at least a Cat 1 hurricane. It's not going to be like an Ivan, but it certainly is going to pack some winds, hurricane force winds. Because the gust, we know it's definitely going to be blowing some of those trees, and when you have a lot of rain with that, you do have a lot of trees that will end up falling down, and we really don't need that. I'm quite concerned about those who live in low-lying areas because, again, Cayman does not have very good drainage as well, and you know what happens in those areas when we have a lot of torrential showers. It certainly is problematic. And hopefully, those residents have taken the necessary precautions to keep themselves safe from the system.
Yeah, so hopefully. We've got quite a few people, over 300 people on the live stream this afternoon with us. So again, folks, the shelters are in the process of being opened as we speak. So we are speaking to, we will be speaking to at least the Red Cross shelter here in a little bit. So we really appreciate that. So Ingrid and Esperanza are watching. Marcia says, good afternoon. Kimmy says, yes, folks. Just try to be safe on the roadway and slow down a little bit. So just a reminder as well that not all shelters take pets. So if you are, if you do have a pet, you need to take that into consideration because, you'll probably want to take your pet with you. So quite an interesting day in terms of intensification of this storm. We're just waiting on some additional updates to come into us, but the HSA again has put some things in place to, start to close down their facility as much as possible. So non-emergency services are starting to close. Information desk and medical records has already closed as of 4 p.m. Pharmacy is closing at 9. And I see a little bit of wind starting to kick out there. And listen, we've seen some weather already coming out of Haiti. Apologies, Haiti and Jamaica. So, power lines already down in Jamaica. They've had flooding. I've seen some videos of flash flooding in different areas. It's been a minute. Someone else also mentioned to me that the path of this storm, I don't know how much you might remember this, Kevin, but the path of this storm is the exact same path that Gilbert took 33 years ago, which is kind of interesting.
Is it? Well, I was only 2 years old back then.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing some of the tracks from it, but to be honest, I really
yes, I wouldn't remember that either.
Yeah, but either way, there's no two identical hurricanes.
Yes,
it's something definitely that every hurricane is unique. Is that that's Gilbert there? It's very similar. Yeah.
That was in September, but that's Gilbert's path. So that's kind of interesting.
That
very
is
similar for sure.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Were you able to see my screen as I popped it up just now?
I'm
going to pop it up again.
Okay.
Are you able to see this?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So these are some of the tools that I use here with planning in disaster preparedness and response, and so we have access to some of these things, so we could do our own forecasting. We always, at least in the area that I work in at the health department, is we prepare for the absolute worst scenario, because it's easier to turn things off than to turn it on when things start to pick up. So you call us the doomsday planners, but that's what we do, because ultimately we want to make sure that we're protecting folks out there. And so, but yeah, right now you can see the winds are passing through Jamaica around 50 miles an hour. And I'll just kind of
now, just to clarify for Renita and Sue,
sure,
my statement that this is the first hurricane since Ivan, I meant the first one to directly impact the Cayman Islands. Not the first one ever. Obviously, there have been tons of hurricanes. And in fact, last year was probably the busiest season ever because they actually went into the Greek alphabet. I meant the first one for us as almost a direct impact hurricane. We haven't had any in 17 years. So that's quite something, but it's been a while. And so that means that we have an entire generation of young people. I was speaking to a parent earlier today. She was saying that her daughter was born, I think, October what year was Hurricane Ivan? And so these kids have no recollection or no knowledge of a hurricane at all. So I think you want to try to make sure you're having conversations with your teenagers and with your kids, and you prepare them. Even my 5-year-old, she knows that some sort of a storm is coming. She doesn't obviously appreciate what a hurricane is. But she did say, she's like, I know, Mom, I know a storm is coming. It was like, okay, once you're well informed. So Kevin, these are some very interesting tools that you have here. Tell us a little bit more about them.
Yeah, so right now the center of the storm at 5 o'clock is we're an hour ahead here in Florida. So these timestamps you'll see on here is definitely my time zone. So at 4 o'clock Cayman time, the center of the storm was just passing right around Mobile in Jamaica. And so we could turn on this little graph here that will show you the actual observation for some of the hurricane force winds. So pretty much all of Jamaica experienced tropical storm force winds as it's passing by there. And it's looking like as it goes beyond Jamaica and as it heads toward the Cayman Islands, more closer to Grand Cayman, you can see that the winds are expected to increase to about 70 miles an hour, sometimes at about 1 o'clock Cayman time, 2 o'clock in the morning my time. And then it's just going to continue tracking at about 17, 18 miles an hour. And then likely turn into a hurricane shortly after you pass Grand Cayman. So I could turn on this tool here to see when, based on the latest track, how what the distance is when it's expected to turn into a hurricane. Somewhere between 130, 150 or so miles away from, depending on where you are in Grand Cayman, is when it's expected to turn into a hurricane, again based on the latest track. Now let's see how wide this system is. The wind field on this system is pretty pretty big. So we go over here and let's take a measurement from how wide this is. About 130 miles or so. So we're definitely, it's pretty much 100% chance that tropical storm winds are definitely likely. And then they unlike before, 5 or so years ago, they only had tropical storm and hurricane force winds. But if you look on here, they got tropical storm, then they got something called strong tropical storm. Strong tropical storm is kind of edging closer toward hurricane force winds. And then there you go. Cayman Islands is likely going to experience a strong tropical storm force winds. In fact, we'll turn this little graphic on, and they're pretty much saying, you know, you're guaranteed to have strong tropical storm force winds. So
wow,
definitely based on just about all of the models that are out there, everybody is definitely in agreement and saying that Cayman is in for at least a very strong tropical storm, possibly some hurricane force winds. You know, those are sustained winds. When they give that number, you're always going to have the chance for wind gust and stuff. One of the things I don't like about the track of the storm is we all know that the northeastern part of the storm of any type of hurricane is where the strongest winds are. Those are also the part of the cyclone, the system that could cause tornadoes. And so with the system passing where it's expected to pass, and then let me just bring this up once again, it is expecting to pass. Let me just turn off a couple things here so you could kind of follow along with me.
Are you able to pull that in stream, or do I have to do that for you?
I think you might have to pull it back in stream.
There we go.
Yeah, so if you look at, you know, these little dots, that's the center of where the latest prediction is. So can you see my mouse moving on it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, you know, as it passes by, and when it's just, you know, passing towards the southwest of Grand Cayman, that puts us in that northeast part of the storm. If it went to our north, we would be at the tail end of the storm, and you know, it will get some winds, but it won't be quite as unstable air going past or unstable conditions going past. But with us being in that northeast part of the storm, or the hurricane, as it, you know, is really borderline strong tropical storm to hurricane. As it passes on by, we do have an increased chance there of having some of that tornadic or water spout type of activity, which is never a good thing, because that's what definitely causes a lot more damage. So that's definitely a concern that I have for you all back there. And again, make sure everyone is ready. This is not going to be one of those things, oh, it's going to be a close call type of thing. There will be an impact from this, and it's not meant to scare anyone. It's just meant to really say, hey, take this one seriously. This is not one that there's a lot of uncertainty with it. They're really, really confident with the track of it, that this will certainly impact at least Grand Cayman. The sister islands will have an impact, but it won't be as significant as what Grand Cayman will be experiencing with this system. Again, if you look at a lot of the models, they are just all in agreement with what's going to go on with it. So
yes. So it's interesting that I'm seeing some messages here about businesses that are not closing. And I thought that the government had resolved this issue, but I guess they haven't mandated it. The second the government issues, I think, certainly a hurricane watch or warning, it's time for businesses to start shutting down. So let's have a look, folks, at the businesses that are doing the right thing. So this is a list that we've just been provided. These look like all of the Cayman Bay DART-owned companies. So everything from the North Sound Gov Club closed at 2 p.m. today. They're going to be closed on Wednesday. We have all Blackbeard locations. So if you didn't get your liquor, you're out of luck. They're closing at 6 p.m. today. Oh, you still have a couple hours. My bad. Anchors closing at 6. West Indian Wine Company closed at 3 p.m. The bookstore, Next Chapter, closed at 3. Pandora closed at 3. The Sunglass, all the retail stores are pretty much closed already, which is fantastic. But I see people messaging on here that some restaurants on the water are still open. Thank you so much for your comment. I think that was Miss Esley. Says a restaurant near by the seaside still open and ask employees to go to work. Why? I mean, who's going to be going to that restaurant? From this morning, we got word that it was being advised. I think we're coming up on a hurricane update. 1 second here, Kevin.
That's fine.
No other news network out there is trusted more than the Weather Channel.
This is epic.
Trusted to give you every advantage before the storm. Trusted to be there where and when you need us.
That might just be a commercial.
To work around the clock until every threat is over.
Okay, so just waiting on them to come back online if they will. But yes, I mean, I'm just shocked and surprised that this continues to be a problem every single time we have a storm. And I think it's one of those things that unfortunately we can't leave it up to individual employers to do the right thing by their employees. That government has to mandate that when it gets to whatever, whether it's, you know, the alert has been given for a tropical storm or whether we're going to say a hurricane, then businesses have to be mandated to start closing. Because otherwise it's not fair to their employees, and it doesn't give them, unless they're like essential services, it doesn't give them an opportunity to, I'm just seeing what this is. It doesn't give them an opportunity to, you know, sort of take care of their own affairs as well. So yes, it is going over Jamaica. We do have some footage of that we're going to bring up here in a second. Let's just see some of that while we're waiting. The death toll in Haiti has climbed to 1,941. That is because of the earthquake, no doubt. And now they're also getting, it says here that Jamaica is on alert.
And the warning still went out about the possibilities of flooding and mudslides as well. So there's so much going on here. It just seems like it's one disaster after another here, Dr. Knapp. But you certainly feel for the toll that is taken in places like Haiti, down here through the Caribbean, and you know, certainly our hearts go out to them. But you know, when we talk meteorology here, I mean, facts are the facts. We knew this was going to be a heavy rain-producing storm, and it's playing out as we thought it might.
It is, and what's adding to the problems associated with Grace is it is now becoming clearer that this is going to become stronger, and we've got a number of countries to our south that will be dealing with a hurricane and all of the wind and water hazards that brings along. There's Tropical Depression Fred, Tropical Storm Henri, and here is Grace. And I'm sure you can tell that Grace is starting to look dangerously healthy. Even though the rains are coming to an end in Haiti, the center going right over Jamaica today, they've got the risk of ongoing flash floods and mudslides, and the conditions are going to be going downhill very quickly tonight in the Cayman Islands. Heavy rain, flooding, and mud and landslides possible in Cuba as well. Once this gets away from Cuba, once it gets away from Jamaica, and then land interaction is minimal, the atmospheric conditions, unfortunately, becoming very conducive for strengthening, maybe even rapid strengthening, high pressure overhead, high pressure in here. So there's just not a lot of wind shear for it to contend with. And oh my goodness, are the waters warm and warm to a depth in the Northwest Caribbean and then the Southwest Gulf where it's headed also. Very warm water. So strengthening is likely. And right now it's a 50-mile-an-hour storm, but this could become a hurricane and be right close to it as it goes over the Cayman Islands early tomorrow. And then by tomorrow night, tropical storm conditions arriving on the Yucatan, where they're going to likely get hurricane force winds and storm surge. Cancun and Cozumel in that hurricane warning. The relatively flat terrain of the Yucatan Peninsula not going to slow it down much, and it could get up to 85 miles an hour or more over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, and then head into the mainland Mexico area. And this ridge here is expanding westward. That is what's saving the United States from dealing directly with Grace. That's what's keeping it on that westward path. But Mike, the one thing we will have to deal with is the high risk of rip currents in the Gulf of Mexico for the next several days. We'll detail that later on.
All right, Dr. Nabla, thank you for that one update. People, what's going on with the dangerous severe weather threat tonight, especially through the Carolinas.
All right, folks. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on that. So as we can see, the projections there are definitely that this storm is going to be, as it passes us, at least close to hurricane watch status. So yes, thank you so much, Kathy. Not surprised at all by that update. That hazard management has officially said that we are now in hurricane watch, as we said a bit ago. Kevin,
hurricane warning, not a watch.
Hurricane warning.
Yeah, because a watch would be a few days out. It's here. It's going to be here overnight, so it's not a watch. If you want to pop up the image that I have in here, and I want to make sure that I also highlight that this image does change very, very, very frequently. Can you pop it in there?
Yes.
Is it up there yet, or the intensity guide?
You want me to pull that in?
Yeah, if you can. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so with this intensity guide, it does definitely change very frequently. If you look at that very bottom, you see 12, 24. That's kind of the how many hours away. And so these are some of the little models that forecasters use to kind of see the intensity of what the system might be. So right now there are some models saying in the next 24 to 36 hours. So really by the time it's beyond Cayman at this point, because 24 to 36 hours from now, it will be beyond Cayman. And some of them are having it as a pretty strong tropical storm force winds. On the left-hand side, you see that's the wind speed. And then on the bottom, that's where you see the times. And so some have it as a strong tropical storm force, hurricane Category 1 force winds, and then a couple of them saying it's going to reach up to Category 2, just very inconsistent. But then as it goes over the Yucatan, which is going to be in about 2 days, you're going to see that big drop off. And then once it's back into open water in the Gulf of Mexico, the chance of it going to Category 2 or strong tropical, Cat 1 hurricane is going to again increase. And then once it gets over Mexico in about 3 or 4 days, it's dead. It's done. No more system. So that's just, again, another tool. But again, this does change very, very frequently. It changes a few times throughout the day as they run different models and such. Just showing, again, a lot of the models are very consistent with what they're predicting is going to happen with this system. And we definitely want everyone to be safe with it. We don't want anyone to say, oh, we're going to have a big hurricane party, a little bit of breeze, not going to hurt nobody. This is not that type of event. This is something that you really need to keep your eyes on, and I'm hoping that everyone there is doing so. I know Mom said she I went just to get a few more items from the grocery store yesterday, and it was packed. So
yep.
I'm glad to know that people are taking it seriously. I hope no one's really freaking out, but at least do take it seriously, because we want everyone safe. We don't want to hear no injuries. That's the last thing we want.
Absolutely. All right, so we do have a message from the Honorable Wayne Panton, folks. So let's go ahead and hear from the Premier now in relation to, I guess, TS Grace, but maybe soon to be Hurricane Grace.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to speak with you about the approach of Tropical Storm Grace and to confirm that the Cayman Islands remains under a tropical storm warning. Tropical storm conditions are now expected within 12 hours. Flood and marine warnings are also in effect. On the forecast track, the center of Tropical Storm Grace will move near the northern coast of Jamaica this afternoon. Tropical Storm Grace is forecast to move near the Cayman Islands tonight and just southwest of Grand Cayman by 4 a.m. on Wednesday. Significant rainfall and rough seas are expected to come with Tropical Storm Grace, and tropical storm force winds of between 45 to 60 knots are forecast. But we need to bear in mind that Tropical Storm Grace could strengthen to a Category 1 hurricane at any time along its path, either before it reaches us or as it leaves Grand Cayman. I urge everyone to continue monitoring official communications channels, including Radio Cayman, to track the path and development of Tropical Storm Grace. I know many of us have some anxiety about the approaching storm. This is a perfectly normal and understandable reaction. Today, I urge everyone to remain calm and be prepared. Preparation and caution are key to remaining safe. I would like to reassure you that the Cayman Islands government is fully prepared. The Cayman Islands Regiment has been deployed throughout the islands to provide any needed urgent assistance. Hazard Management Cayman Islands is in constant contact with Regional Disaster Management Organization, CDMA, as well as other British overseas territories should support be needed. Damage assessment teams are standing by to roll out across the islands once the all clear is given. Please follow some basic preparation practices to secure your own residence and property. Be sure to remove any debris from your yards that may fly around and damage people or property. Please fill clean water containers with drinking water. And please be prepared for potential loss of power and communications. Also, please ensure you have adequate supplies of prescription medication, baby supplies, canned food and drinking water to take you through the storm and the next 24 to 48 hours after the storm's passage. We are confident in the Cayman Islands National Weather Service projections and are preparing and securing government properties as I speak. Our emergency services are all fully prepared, ready to assist, and shelters are open in every district. All non-essential government offices have closed as of 2 p.m. today, and the National Emergency Operations Center will be operational from 5 p.m. this evening. Residents are asked to avoid going near coastlines, especially the south coast of Grand Cayman, from 7 p.m. tonight. And please complete all essential road travel before sunset. The National Hazard Management Council will continue to monitor and assess the situation and will issue an update at 4 p.m. today. Please visit weather.gov.ky, caymanprepared.ky, gov.ky, and Radio Cayman for up-to-date information on Tropical Storm Grace. The National Emergency Operations Center and mental health hotlines have been activated for those in need of assistance. The numbers are for NEOC 949-6555, and for the mental health line, it is 1-800-534-6955. 6463. That operates between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. If you need emergency assistance at any time during the passage of Tropical Storm Grace, please call 911. I want to assure you that the Cayman Islands is ready and prepared as much as possible for the passage of Tropical Storm Grace. At this time, I encourage all residents to finalize their preparations and ensure that they're safely sheltered from sunset tonight. Please continue to monitor official government information channels and wait for the all clear to be issued. Please be prepared and stay safe. Let us all work together and support each other. I pray that we safely ride out this storm. God bless each of you, and God bless our wonderful Cayman Islands.
Okay, folks, so thank you very, very much. So yes, that is a little bit dated, Lenny, in the sense that, you know, they obviously did it before 4 o'clock. Since then, what we do know, and this is going up on the website as we speak, that basically, again, because of the close proximity of the hurricane force wind field for Tropical Storm Grace, a decision has been taken to issue a hurricane watch for the Cayman Islands, and tropical storm force winds are expected, but residents should be aware that sustained winds of hurricane strength are now possible. So we're expecting more details to follow here shortly. Flight cancellations. Caribbean Airlines, in case you're interested, has just canceled 2 flights out of New York and 1 from Fort Lauderdale that would have been going to Jamaica, I believe. Someone was asking about the BA flight earlier. I'll try to find that out now. Because that would be on Thursday. So not quite sure yet if it will impact that far ahead, but we'll certainly get some information. So thank you, Diana. Yes, it's obviously difficult to, you know, do these things precisely in real time when they have a pre-recorded message. Kevin, any thoughts?
Yeah, very good message. But the takeaways from that, again, he's just calling for everyone to really be prepared and to monitor local media to make sure you keep up to date, because with any type of weather system, things are going to be changing. And we know how unpredictable hurricanes are. If you actually took it back, because last week I was dealing with a potential tropical storm here in Florida, and then we were also getting ready to prepare for this very one as well, because we thought it was going to be on coming to Florida as well, more of an East Coast storm. We could see that certainly did not happen. It definitely, as the weekend progressed, and it just kept on staying on the southern part of the forecast cone, and it just kept on adjusting on over straight to Florida. Is not even anywhere in the eyes of the system, and it's definitely going straight over Cayman and on into the Yucatan Peninsula. Not what was expected on Thursday or Friday when you first saw it popping up on the National Hurricane Center in Miami's prediction models. But now, again, we do know that there's a lot more certainty with at least the next 24 to 48 hours, which is what Cayman needs to pay very close attention to. And that's where we are.
Okay. Folks, I have someone messaging me asking if I know anyone at NAU. Probably not today. They pretty much all closed. Folks, you know, unfortunately, government workers, you know, it is what it is right now. Today, you're not going to get much done for the rest of the day. Foster's, actually, let me try to check in with Woody. To be honest, I've not touched bases with Woody today. Let me just see.
So while you do that, I'll just give another tip for some folks who are once the winds start to pick up, and this is definitely going to be an overnight type of system. The winds are going to start to really pick up over the wee hours of the night and on into the early hours of the morning before you start to have improvement in the weather conditions. But when it's blowing outside, and let's say the power goes out and you start to get warm and stuff, please do yourself a favor by not opening just the window to try to get some cool air, because one of the lessons a lot of people learn, unfortunately, the hard way, is once you have pressure building up inside your home, that's not going to necessarily have a great outcome, because that's what lifts off a lot of roofs. So try not to do that. Not to mention, the last thing you want is if some debris might be flying out there and it just happens to be bad luck for you when something comes and strikes you. So do your best to not do that, not open your windows and stuff. You just kind of stay inside, lock yourself inside your home until you get that all clear. Like Premier Panton had messaged, don't be going out there trying to explore when the winds are still out there, because you might not know exactly what might be coming. You might still have some real gusty winds that are left behind. And again, you could have also other hazards out there. There could be a power pole that had a line down that's still energized. There's a lot of different things that could still be out there that you don't want to end up getting injured over. I'll tell you, one of the statistics here in Florida that occurs is more injuries happen after the storm than actually during the storm.
Oh, wow.
And that's because of people not knowing how to properly use a chainsaw and then cut themselves, or a tree that they're cutting the limbs and trees, branches fall on them, or they're cleaning up and there's objects that cut them that goes through their shoes, or they have a cut on their leg and they go through some nasty water, really, and it causes bacteria to build up on your wound. There's a lot of different hazards that happens, and so a lot more people end up getting injured after the storm than actually during the storm.
That's interesting. So we do have John Tibbetts, who's joining us again, and he is the Director General for the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. John, let me just bring you in here. Good afternoon, and thank you so much.
Well, first of all, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you perfectly.
Oh, okay. How are you all doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. You look a little relaxed.
I'm a little relaxed. Actually, I came home to catch a little breather from the office.
Oh, yes.
They've been. I went over to the Compass this morning, and they were jokingly kind of kidnapping me from one radio station to the next. Whichever they would look around, and one of the radio announcers were in there, and another one would come and grab us. Hey, John, just step in here for a few minutes with us, and we step in there, and then as we come back out, then So we've been rather busy.
Yes, of course.
And it's been a rather stressful type situation. You're trying to get a lot of other things going on done. But at the same time, you have a storm that you have to deal with. And the country requires the information to come from the National Weather Service to provide guidance for the government and guidance for the people as a whole.
Yes, wonderful. Right? So tell us what the latest is. We do have Catalina Ferreira from, obviously, the Cayman Islands Red Cross in the back studio, as well as Mr. Woody Foster from Foster's. We'll get to them here in just a second. But John, what are we looking at in terms of the storm?
Well, I was kind of hoping that I would have been able to have gotten my bulletin coming out of my staff from the Weather Service, but for some reason my emails are being delayed, and that is rather critical for me. However, there's not a tremendous deal of change between the 10 a.m. bulletin and the 4 p.m. bulletin. Essentially, you've got a fairly strong tropical storm coming off of Jamaica right now. The storm center itself is in western Jamaica right now, near Montego Bay.
Wow.
All right, and it is heading our way. Forecast track still passing to the south of Grand Cayman. The last digits I got was about 15 miles south of us, sometime around midnight or so. And we're expecting the sister islands, first of all, just a few hours of tropical storm force winds, maybe as much as 3 to 4 hours, I guess, sometime overnight. And then heavy showers, about 3-4 hours for them around midnight. And then tomorrow, then settling into a day in which it'll still be a bit on the cloudy, rainy situation for them, but the heavier showers will be near Grand Cayman. Okay. And our heavier showers are expected to last through around 7 p.m. in the afternoon. The tropical storm force winds now is where the question's at right now, because as this system is moving west of Grand Cayman is when it's forecasted to become a hurricane. Okay. Now, as of 4 p.m., Cayman is now using 2 different designations for our warnings. First, we are remaining under a tropical storm warning. We are expecting tropical storm force winds overnight. But we're also adding a hurricane watch in there because hurricane force winds, category 1, is possible. Okay, and that's because as this system is leaving the area, it is becoming a hurricane. Okay, now based on all the information we have, we're not getting any hurricane force winds, but erring on the side of caution and realizing that there may be the forecasting might not be 100% accurate. There's a possibility you could get some hurricane force winds very early in tomorrow morning.
Okay. So I do see some information being circulated. Someone has just sent me something saying, is this true? So I just want to remind folks of the importance of making sure that you, as the Premier said, you know, really pay attention to trusted sources when it comes to this type of information, because I mean, it's easy for someone to just take an image of a hurricane and say, now it's a Cat 5, which is what I just saw. I don't see any official sources saying that as yet. So folks, just be careful with the information and how it's being circulated, because of course, CMR of all people know how quickly things can travel when it comes to news, whether it's true or not. So we will wait to see. And I see the wind kind of kicking out there a little bit. Mr. Tibbetts was speaking about Jamaica. Let's just have a look here at some video footage that we have coming out of Jamaica. We've seen a little bit from earlier today. And look at this. This is crazy, but this is what they're dealing with already.
Yeah, that's what I'm expecting, to be honest with you. Jamaica has a tendency, like most Caribbean islands, because they're mountainous, rainfall is a major problem for them. So if we're looking at peak rainfall totals of about 9 inches here, I can tell you Jamaica is going to get a whole lot more.
Wow. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, the flooding already is substantial, really.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. So we'll just continue. Again, folks, that is the Cayman Islands National Weather Service Director General, Mr. John Tibbetts. Thank you so much again for popping in on our live stream to keep our viewers updated.
Yeah. And Sandra, as I just said, Cayman Islands is either going to get one of two things. You got to either get a very strong, powerful tropical storm or a weak hurricane. No category 5 hurricane. It is a category 1 at worst. Okay?
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Okay, no problem. Have a good day.
Okay, thanks very much. So we do have some footage coming from Little Cayman, which is kind of looking interesting already. But let's go ahead and bring in Catalina Ferreira. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm all right, Sandy. How are you?
I'm good. I know you're super busy, so thank you so much for taking a few moments out of your afternoon to check in with us.
Oh,
so Catalina is with the Cayman Islands Red Cross, and of course, they are one of the shelters on island. You're opening for 5 o'clock, is that correct?
Actually, the Red Cross opened at 4. So
you
ours
opened at 4, right?
Yes, because ours is usually the first shelter to open.
Yes, we've got a little rudimentary list here.
There you go. Yeah, so they just put it on.
I think they had you guys on at 5, but you're right.
5, yeah,
the official report said 4.
That's okay, because yeah, so we just because when you work with volunteers, it's important to give them as much time as possible and make sure people can get there and whatnot. So our shelter's been open. There, as you saw in your little list, there are 6 other shelters in Grand outside from the Red Cross, 2 of which are the pet shelters. I did hear you remind people that most shelters do not accept pets. In Grand Cayman, the ones that do are John Gray High School and Clifton Hunter. So those are the 2 for you to get to if you have that. And of course, the sister island shelters are Aston Ruddy Center and the Public Works Department over in Little Cayman, with Aston Ruddy being over in Cayman Brac. So yeah, so it's I think it's important, the things that we always kind of talk to people about, because we have a very transient society as well, and because sometimes people's situations change, right? Sometimes they live in a place where they don't need a shelter, but then if they move from that particular place to a more flood-prone area or something else, then their disaster plan should change. So just as reminders, in terms of letting people know the usual things of what do you bring to a shelter. You have to bring your food and your water supply. I think there's a misconception there about the shelter having food. There's food that ends up in the shelter is not for the duration of the storm. It is additional supplies in the off chance that the shelter has to open longer term to be able to feed shelterees after the storm. So you need to bring your own food supply for the immediate sort of 3 days, 3 to 5 days and whatnot. Bring with you your important documents, and that would be your identification, your passport, any birth certificates, anything else, and make sure that it's in a watertight container or a Ziploc bag or something along those lines. Toiletries, make sure that you do bring the toiletries, because chances are if you're going to be there, it's looking for this tropical storm Grace, that you will likely be there overnight. A change of clothes, just to be on the safe side. If you do have medication, if you're taking medication, by all means bring your medication to the shelter. A sleeping bag or a blanket. Most shelters will not have the cots, or they will have cots that would be for more vulnerable people who would need them. But the cots also take up additional space in the shelter, which would reduce the number of persons that you can actually sleep in there. So so for most persons, a sleeping bag or a blanket, and the specialty items for the most vulnerable members of your family. So for instance, children, if you have kids, bring something along to keep them entertained, a coloring book, a book, or something else. And also not just necessarily electronics, because, you're going to run out of battery at some point. And if you don't have an additional power pack, you may not have another outlet. And I know for our shelter at the Red Cross, we do have the generator, but the priority for the generator is not to power individual devices. It really is to ensure that, the AC is running and other things are working, right? And of course, I know we're in a bubble, but we're still in a pandemic. So a mask and hand sanitizer need to be a part of your shelter kit. That absolutely has to be a part of it. And then of course the don'ts, as far as the shelters go, don't bring drugs, don't bring alcohol. Those are not allowed, and they will there is no smoking in the shelters, and that includes vaping. Don't bring any weapons, and those also include Swiss Army knives or multi-purpose tools that have knives. Ensure don't bring any cooking stoves or anything with an open flame. And remember that a shelter is a sudden community, so expect that there are going to be certain things that are going to be expected of you to ensure the health and hygiene of the place that you are now sharing with other people, So I think that's going to be that's always the important thing for us, is just that, the shelter management team is there to keep people safe, but they're not there to pick up after people, to clean up after people. Those are going to be shared responsibilities amongst the shelterees, because it is that kind of emergency situation where everyone is thrown in the same boat. But the people who are there responsible for everyone's safety need to control that, and everyone has to take equal ownership as far as cleanliness and sanitation and everything. So so those are just sort of some of the key things, and again, just in terms of accessibility in everything else. Some shelters are more accessible than others. Our shelter, for instance, we have not gotten to the point where we've installed like an elevator and other things, so considerations there. Whereas some of the other shelters are a bit more accessible, I think, especially the schools. So just about in terms of considering it, and your plan should not be to leave when it gets bad. Yeah. And I'll say that again. Your plan should not be to leave your home when it gets bad, because by the time people are calling, and obviously I was here through Ivan, and I have these vivid memories of these calls that were coming through to our National Hurricane Center at the time, and people saying, well, can somebody come out? But the emergency vehicles can't come out once conditions hit a certain point. And so, because it's for the most part, if your car can't get through that, most emergency vehicles can't, and it's endangering the lives of the people who are coming to do the rescue. So if you live in a flood-prone area, if you are uncertain, if you know you're going to need sort of additional support and all of those things, make a plan, leave early, get settled. And the worst thing that can happen to us if this kind of blows over, and it's just like, is that it blew over and everybody was safe. But if it does intensify, if it does become that, it's like the weak category 1 that does bring with it a bit more than what we expected, at least you are in a safe space. And you can say, okay, well, thank goodness I'm safe and my family is safe. So yeah, so those are just, the ongoing things. I feel like a broken record, and I'm sorry. But those ongoing things that we tell people, every year, just, make your family plan, make a decision, do it sooner rather than later, do it before the rain comes. We know that traffic
the rain has began. I must tell you, I'm here in Lower Valley, and it started to rain already. So yeah,
town is still sunny. So, but traffic I've been hearing has already kind of, because people are kind of trying to do their last minute things. If there's no need for you to go out, don't go out, and it's just like, but take all those things into account, because, the other thing too is that as a people, we normally don't do rain to begin with, right? I mean, look how many accidents it is that we find, like on the road once it gets a little slippery. Now, intensifying that with the idea that there's something coming, and like you said, there's already sort of misinformation out there as to how big this is going to get. So there's all those mental health concerns that we already kind of seeing, and people with that level of anxiety. And for those who went through Ivan and didn't, get to talk about it and really kind of go through it, this is something that makes them anxious. So there are all these other things that are going to pile on, and it's going to make it more unsafe for you to be out on the road and, to kind of be making decisions and whatnot. So the plan helps, the plan helps.
Yes. Well, thank you so much again, folks. Problem. That's Catalina Ferreira. I believe you're the Deputy Director.
I am, yes.
At the Cayman Islands Red Cross. Thank you so much for joining us again. Some good shelter tips there for you, and general tips as well. At this point, stay in if you have to. I did make a quick little trip to Foster's earlier, and we're going to be talking to Woody Foster here in a second. But good. I always feel like when weather like this comes, there's certain food staples that I really want. So I did go to Foster's. I got soup off the buffet line. They had some really nice chicken soup. So I stocked up on some soup. And I got some supplies to make some salad and a few other bits and pieces. So Catalina, please stay safe. And thank you so much for all the hard work that both you and the Red Cross do here in the Cayman Islands.
I appreciate that, Sandy. You too. And we'll touch base at some point, hopefully after the all clear. Yeah?
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, folks. Remember all of the shelter rules, please. It's a community situation. The shelter is not owned by you, so don't go there, imposing your habits on anyone. I can't imagine. I've never actually been to hurricane shelter to stay, but I think it's just one of those things where you have to be courteous to all people. So Mr. Woody Foster, good afternoon. How are you?
Hello, Sandy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just mentioning that I was at Foster's earlier. I went to the airport location. Of course, it was packed in the parking lot, but inside it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was that bad. It wasn't like bumper to bumper. But yeah, I just had to run in and get a few things. So what's it been like? I think yesterday people started to kind of pick up and going to get water at Price Right and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're accurate. The parking lots look worse than the inside the store look, and maybe because we're handling customers faster. I'm not sure. But it started sort of late yesterday, around 4:30 or so. It was still not terrible, but you could feel it starting to pick up. But they got hit kind of hard at night as people started to get off work. Today has been relatively steady, busy, but not crazy busy.
Yeah.
I think probably because it's only slated to be a tropical storm, but of course now that's seemingly changing. And I believe a lot of people probably remember ETA pretty well, in that we took ETA for granted and didn't prepare and then got smacked. So I'm assuming people are taking this one a little bit more seriously, as are we. We were in that boat and vowed not to let that happen again. But everything went pretty well. We're not in bad shape, but obviously we're getting hit.
And what are your hours for today looking like?
We are closing at 9.
Okay.
Our competitors, I think, Kirk's is closing as normal at 9:30. Hurley's is closing as normal at 9. I'm not sure about Costly Less, but I believe they're normal hours as well today. And then tomorrow, currently Hurley's is scheduled to open at 12. We're scheduled to open at 3. And Kirk's is not planning on opening at all tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about Costly Less, but we'll just have to watch and see, and we'll put out any updated information. So if nothing happens, we're not going to open earlier than we've stated, because whenever we try to do that, it's always a disaster, because people have made their plans and it's hard to get people back in when you've decided on something. So the earliest that we would open is 3. But of course, if the storm is worse than we have anticipated and we have to open a little bit later, then of course we'll send out information to the press and let everybody know.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So folks, again, 9 p.m. you've got, of course, I would recommend that if you can, you get out there and, make your preparations as quickly as you can. How are supplies? Do you feel like you're running out of anything at this point?
The only thing that comes to mind really is bread, is because we wouldn't obviously have prepared for the overseas bread, so that got hammered pretty hard. But as I walked around the stores today, it looked like we were in decent shape. I mean, yes, we have some out of stocks, but I don't think we're terrible. I know we still have plenty of water. And maybe we'll run out of one type, but we'll substitute with another. Like the one that gets hit the hardest, which of course is not good for plastic-free Cayman, is the individual bottles. But we still have quite a lot. But if for whatever reason that runs out, we have lots and lots of the gallon bottles. So generally speaking, we have lots of water. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So thank you very much, Woody. Again, they've got how many locations? You've got West Bay, Cayman Bay, Foster's Airport, Countryside, and there's one in East End. East End and Price Right. And Price Right. All right. So at least 6 locations. Yep. Folks, you can go out and get all of your supplies. If there's anything that you need, make sure you've got, batteries just in case. Charge up all of your devices. Woody, we really appreciate you jumping in on the live stream on such short notice just to give us an update on what's going on. They're planning on reopening tomorrow a little bit later on in the day, subject to the all clear given, I'm sure. Yep. And, we'll continue to update you all with that information as it becomes available. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thanks. Stay dry. All right. Thank you. All right. Kevin, we're going to wrap things up a little bit here. Again, we're just sort of monitoring and seeing what's going to happen. We'll come back in a couple hours to kind of update you guys with what's going on. But Kevin, any final words? Oh, by the way, let me just finish showing the Jamaica one. And then I've got a footage from Little Cayman that I want to show as well before we get some final thoughts from Kevin. Check out the rest of that Jamaica video footage. All right, so folks, that's Jamaica. Let's have a look at Little Cayman.
there. That's the South Sound Hole in Little Cayman. So it's kind of kicking up there, folks. Very, very interesting. Kevin, any final thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to remind everyone, you saw at least the video you just shared of what's going on in Jamaica. Remember, when the system is passing by, at least Grand Cayman especially, the system is expected to be a little stronger than that. So keep that in mind. This is not a joke. It's something that we want to make sure that you pay very close attention to, take the necessary precautions, and be as safe as possible. Again, and that mental health thing is certainly a very great thing that Cayman now has. If you have any concerns at all, where if you're feeling extremely stressed, utilize it. Okay. Again, it's not the worst thing that could ever happen. It's not an Ivan, but it is something of concern, and we want everyone safe. And that's why, you know, people like me, people like Sandra, Woody Foster, and the Director General, everyone is saying, please pay attention, take this seriously, because ultimately we are in this to help you, to protect your lives. So again, thanks for inviting me on, Sandra. I hope everyone stays safe. We'll talk later.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kevin. In terms of some of you asking what to do about flooding, well, you need to know your area that you live in. And if you live in an area, folks, that historically has had flooding issues, 3 to 6 up to 9 inches, upwards of 9 inches is nothing to sneeze at. So what I would suggest you do is, if it's, you know, a real concern, you need to probably go to a safe location. So as Catalina Ferreira from the Cayman Islands Red Cross said, don't wait until the storm is at the worst to make that decision. You need to calculate from now what your plan of action is. So, you know, pick up debris around the exterior of your home, secure those things, and perhaps while the weather is still, you know, relatively okay out there, this would be your time to make a move. That would be my recommendation. If you live in an area, you've just moved in and you're not really sure, you've not been in any storms in that area, ask people who have lived there for a while, because they will know. Ask your neighbors. So folks, start charging up your devices, because at some point we may lose power. So make sure that all your mobile devices are charged up as long as we have power here. Someone was asking me if I have a backup generator, because they're like, we can't do without you during the storm. I don't. So fingers crossed that we won't lose any power in this area, but sometimes they shut the power off. They shut the water mains off as a precautionary measure in case there's any down power lines and that sort of thing. So we may lose power. Flo has sent out a notification. I just saw that go out, just advising that all of their retail stores are closed, but they do have, you know, a customer service, what they call their virtual WhatsApp store. And you can also just email kflowhelp@cwc.com. Their virtual WhatsApp store is 925-3569. So that's what we have for you. We've just updated the story in our website regarding, let me see here, regarding the new status of the storm. Hurricane watch now in effect, and tropical storm warning remains in effect. So just continue, folks, to listen to official sources. We do not know anything about the storm turning into a category 1, as someone indicated. Let me just see if we're getting any updates here. They're still monitoring Fred in the US, but they're probably going to be doing another update in a little bit. So we'll keep you guys updated. I think there should be another, probably in about an hour or so, or maybe 2 hours, there'll be another major update on the storm. You know, they send the hurricane planes in, folks. They get reports, and they will update us accordingly, and we will certainly let you guys know. Heed the warnings, good folks. Thank you to the PAC government. Both the Premier and the Minister of Tourism and Transport have both issued statements on the storm. You just got to be safe out there. Stay home. No, I think that's a rumor, Irvelin, that's in circulation. Give me 1 second. Let me just double check something here, and I'm going to tell you what the... the latest is that we have and when that was from the National Hurricane Center. So the last,
the National Hurricane.
Oh, sorry. 52 minutes ago, it was still a tropical depression, Fred. So they wouldn't have upgraded it between then in any event. So we're going to do, I think the next advisory will be at 11 p.m. So a little bit of time will pass. So mostly heavy. Hold on a second. Am I looking at the right one? Nope. This is Fred, I think. Oh, sorry. Ugh, the Americans are really focused on Fred. My apologies. An hour ago, we have some key messages from the National Hurricane Center about Tropical Storm Grace, so still a tropical storm. So hurricane conditions and a dangerous storm surge are expected over portions of the hurricane warning areas. That's why they've issued those. Eastern Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico late Wednesday. Heavy rainfalls across Haiti, Cuba, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and the Yucatan Peninsula is likely to cause flash urban flooding, small stream flooding, and with the potential for mudslides, the highest in Haiti. Tropical storm conditions are expected over portions of Jamaica through this evening and over the Cayman Islands tonight and early Wednesday. So tropical storm conditions are expected to spread westward from portions to the southern coast of Cuba in the warning area to possibly other portions of the southern coast of Cuba. So lots of rain at this time is pretty much what we're looking at. Still a tropical storm at 50 miles per hour. This is at 5 p.m., which would have been 4 p.m. our time, so about a half an hour ago. It was 5 miles south of Montego Bay, Jamaica, pretty close, and about 225 miles southeast of Grand Cayman. Grace is moving toward the west near 15 miles per hour. A general westward to west-northwestward motion is expected over the next couple days. On the forecast track, the center of Grace will continue to move near the northwestern coast of Jamaica for the next few hours. Grace is forecast to move near or over the Cayman Islands late tonight and early Wednesday, and then approach the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico late Wednesday or early Thursday. Maximum sustained winds are near 50 miles per hour. With higher gusts, tropical storm force winds extend out up to 80 miles from the center. Official reporting station in Kingston, Jamaica has reported sustained winds of 45 miles per hour and gusts up to 54 miles per hour within the past few hours. The estimated pressure, it's gone down a little bit. Grace is forecasted to strengthen into hurricane on Wednesday, with some additional strengthening possible prior to the center reaching the Yucatan Peninsula. So again, rainfall is going up now. It says over Cayman and Jamaica and portions of the Yucatan, 3 to 6 inches of isolated, 3 to 6 inches of rain with isolated maximum totals of 10 inches. Remember earlier it was 9, now it's gone up to 10. Expected through Thursday. Heavy rainfall could lead again to flash and urban flooding. And they're saying that there's a possibility of dangerous storm surge. Just remember, folks, the marine issues, warnings are out. You need to put all of your watercrafts in safe harbor. They should have been done already, but if you haven't, please ensure that you do so. I think that is pretty much it for now, right? We'll continue to update you guys as Grace continues to make her move. Yeah. All right, folks. So be safe, please. Yeah, sorry, Irvelin, that was Fred. Yes, it looks like she will strengthen. Cece is going to be the weather girl. Hey, Cece. All right, good folks. That's what we got for you. Be safe, and we'll check in another couple hours or so. You are most welcome. I'm just trying to see when the next update will be. Oh, 8 p.m., which will be 7 p.m. our time. Okay. That would be an intermediate advisory. And then the big one is at 11 p.m. tonight. And then it's going to be pretty close to us. All right, good folks. That's all we got. You guys have a wonderful next couple of hours. Andy will be checking in around 7 p.m. Until then.